Joining us now is Professor in Economics and Specialist in French outermost regions at the University of La Réunion, Philippe Jean-Pierre. Thanks very much for joining us on the programme today. Emmanuel Macron visited the island a few days after the cyclone. He had a pretty frosty reception at the time. Is it likely to be the same, do you think, for Francois Bayrou?
I think it will be the same because the population in Mayotte is waiting for concrete solutions, concrete answers, because all the inhabitants are facing issues that have to face with, and they are waiting for concrete answers to resolve, and because they are fed up with suffering disruption in basic needs and are tired of being rationed. So they are fed up with queuing for and want to go back as early as possible to the normal way, everyday life. For instance, for energy, water access, public services, and maybe communications. And so in that particular case, even if they check that there's some progress during the last 15 days, but they feel that the progress are not going as fast as they could expect.
Yeah, you talk about the progress. I mean, a lot of the emergency flights are taking off from where you are in La Réunion. What is France doing? And to a certain extent, anything it does to is likely to be a drop in the ocean, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that for France, they have to face a huge one to have right answer in an emergency situations, and also to provide solutions and a new issue, a new perspective to rebuild Mayotte and to reinforce its resilience. And that will happen in a particular context where a large amount of euro are needed for this, and also that the French government, because one of the minister, Emmanuel Valls, for instance, told that they have to give answer to rebuild these islands and to resolve, for instance, the issues put on the table by the illegal and the large amount of informal populations and homes. So it puts that this problem is not only about infrastructures, but how also we will make possible that the coexistence between the two parts of the populations in the island, between the formal and the informal populations.
Yeah, there's been a lot of criticism, hasn't there, of the authorities for allowing the situation there to be as bad as it is. That partly due to the large number of undocumented migrants. Also, of course, people very critical of the poor conditions people have been living in. And that's before this cyclone even happened.
Yeah. And before the cyclone happened, the fact that this large part of population existed before was well documented and was put on the table by political stakeholders in Mayotte and was taken into account by the French governments. But that this disaster reveals it was the solution has not happened as high as they expected, and so they reveals the fragility of the islands, and so it lets spur the feelings in Mayotte that maybe the vulnerability are also impacted by the presence of this population, by this urban sprawl, and by this disorganized society. So this is a huge challenge that the government has to face with in the next few weeks if he wants to give the right answer to the right population for the emergency, and now for also the next stage of development.
So just briefly and finally, I mean, for Francois Bayrou, what on earth can they do to try and make the situation better?
I think that he has to go beyond the only empathic way of thinking, like because it was the responsibility of President Macron 15 days ago, and now population has to have to can see the right feelings that their situations it was taken into account, and because there's a contrast between the first reaction of the French government, because it puts an air bridge, for instance, between France, La Réunion, and Mayotte, and it deserves some basic needs, but it does not go as far as it could be expected. And so now the populations want that the government give them reassurance about not being feeling like left behind regions. Because for the last 10 years, since the Mayotte has been implementing the decentralization process, the large part of the population feel that this process, this development policy has not went as fast as it could have expected by them.
Thanks for being with us on the programme today. Philippe Jean-Pierre, Professor of Economics and Specialist in France's outermost regions at the University of La Réunion.